Okay, let's look at Gemini versus Flint. Now, what I'm going to do is this showed up on my Instagram feed today, and my phone's listening, of course. It knows I'm talking about AI. So this person posts different types of prompts, not just for teaching, but for if you're doing legal documents, shopping, etc. So I thought I'd take this lesson plan sprint and follow the prompt that was given. So I said grade 11, subject, music composition, and then I just pasted a standard in here from one of the Massachusetts standards for music and composing. Then I was like, I put in 45-minute plan, make a hook, make a mini lesson, guided practice. I just put all this stuff in, just as it says right here. Then I was like, let's do it in Gemini. So again, right away I'm looking at this. I know it's going to be kind of not very specific because I wasn't asking for specifics. And that's what it gave me back, kind of a mishmash of some stuff to do that, you really have to go in and still do a lot of planning to make this work. So play 2 short musical examples. Of course, you'd have to find some musical examples, right? Because I didn't say I want a specific style of music composition. I just wrote music composition. So this is kind of what it gave me in Gemini, right? Visual aid, use a whiteboard or projector, briefly demonstrate each concept, etc. Pretty basic stuff that I think if you're building a lesson plan, you most likely would do anyway. So then I went and typed the same stuff into Flint, where I wasn't very specific. I just said, let's do this. And Flint gave me kind of the same thing here, except that they were a little bit more specific. So now Flint is an AI that you have to pay for if you want more than 85 students interacting in Flint with you. It's more of a chat box, so it's more interactive. So students can interact with it and it'll give it one-on-one feedback. So I kind of like it. It's a lot of words though. So, and as we know as teachers, when I'm doing this, that a lot of students are just going to like space out reading all this text. I know already, like if they were interacting and there's so much text, they're just going to do a zone out right away. But, right now we're just looking at, can you make a lesson plan that you might teach in your classroom? So, this gave you like a prompt. Flint gave you like some things that you could, what you might ask in the class, right? So that was kind of cool. I like that. It talked about, it just went into a little bit more depth. Students are love, hook, music, storytelling, comparing pieces. Again, it's not really very specific, right? Because I looked at it and I just felt like it would be too all over the place and not specific, and I would lose students. So then I was like, okay, let's be more specific with this lesson. Can you gear it towards popular music songwriting? Students can choose from 2 emotions, happy and upbeat, or sad and melancholy. Explain the form as binary form with an intro, verse, chorus. So I gave it a lot more specifics, a couple of chord progressions, okay, and then it gave me a different lesson plan. So let's look at this lesson plan. So in Flint, because it's a chat box, students can interact with this. So let's just stop this for a second. So a student would sign in to Flint and read this, right? And then they can respond. I want to write a happy upbeat song, right? Because it's asking them a question. Excellent choice. Happy upbeat songs are so much fun to create, right? And then they give some examples of what those songs, what those chord progressions are. And and students aren't going to know what these songs might not sound like, depending on what kind of music they listen to. So that's always a problem with music. That's what I'm finding more and more is obviously because of copyright protection as well, they're not going to give links and play music in this platform. So, so basically they go through the whole lesson, and this is a simulation, so I wanted to write about overcoming challenges and believing in yourself. So then they give some suggestion for a chord progression, and the student can write for the verse, maybe something like when thunderstorms coming in, then, so it's interactive. So the Flint or the Sparky character interacts with the particular student. Now, when the student's done, you can read this. Like, Flint gives you this. You demonstrated excellent understanding of song structure by choosing a classic chord progression. Of course, it's not really hearing what they're writing, so, you could work on exploring more specific interview details. So this gives you some feedback, a little bit about how the student is interacting with, and then you could go back and then write some stuff to the student. But again, lots and lots of text, right? So, it could be something where it's a flipped classroom and you have the students kind of look at this at home and kind of ask some questions, and then in the classroom, you're ready to roll with it. So, I do like that Flint was a little bit more specific. Now look at all these examples of songs that they gave. And I just gave 2 chord progressions, so I really liked where they were deep diving to get their information from. So I went back to Google Gemini and also said, okay, can you please, let's be more specific, right? So here is the first one, so then let's look at the new one. So again, when I changed, it was more specific to popular music and songwriting. It did then become a little bit more detail oriented in giving examples again for students. So now it's not a chat box, it's not interactive. So this would be something for you to kind of use as an outline for a lesson plan. So again, that's where it's helpful to, if you give some ideas, it can give you a more detailed lesson plan and kind of, give you some bullet points and stuff to use it as. So I do want to show you something else though. Like in Gemini, okay, you can get some more interactive stuff. That wasn't working for me here for some reason. So because I did ask if they could make something, and it wasn't really working. Let's scroll down here. Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's look at this for a second. So for some reason, this isn't working in this particular Gemini notebook that I have here, but I'll show you another one. But you could, I asked it, can you make a player that students can listen to what these chord progressions sound like? So I don't know why it's not working. He said there's something wrong with the code, but I have asked it to do that sort of thing before. And I'll show you what I mean. I had asked it to do a neo-soul progression. So let's look at it. So I had asked, can you build something where people could hear neo-soul progressions? Because I was trying to create a lesson for neo-soul chord progressions. And you can do that. So I could say, okay, let's add a C minor 7. And I can say add to chord progression. And then let's add an F minor 7. Just add to chord progression. Right, and then it'll play the progression. I mean, it doesn't sound that great. I could go in and say, can you please make the sound more like a square wave or something? But, I can make a chord progression here and they can hear what they sound like. So, and how would I use this in my class is, again, I'd have to copy the code. So I would go in here and copy this code, right? I'd copy the code, and then I would put it in Google Sites, open up Google Site, open up a blank web page, put it in the code reading format, paste the code in, and then I can give the link to students to be interactive with that. So I think you can also share. I could share this with students. No, it doesn't really work, obviously. Let's just watch this for a second. So if I were to put this in Google, blah, 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 let's see, let's go back here for a second. Let's go to just a Google Doc. It's not going to work, right? If it says share, watch, this is what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a bunch of nothing, right? It's going to be the code. But if I do this, copy, if I go to Google Sites. Where's Google Sites? Oh, here it is, okay. And then I just add a blank page and I put it in, embed code. Here we go, paste. Next. Insert. There it is. So then if I publish this is how I did that other oscillator thing. If I then publish this, I can be interactive. So that's the workaround I did to be able to share some interactive stuff from Gemini. I put it into Google Sites. If it was only text, we're teaching music. So this is why I'm doing this page, this YouTube channel, is that a lot of text, that's not music. And students want to take music because they want to be playing and be interactive. And when it's all just text and they're unable to do anything with it, I feel like it's just going to be not that interesting to them. So it gives you ideas. And again, for a flipped classroom, it can work. I would perhaps do something like this and say, hey, spend 10 minutes tonight looking over this, ask some questions, and then we'll do the lesson in class the next day, just so they can get a little bit of a head start. But so that's Flint. That's Gemini, and I hope this is helpful to you, and let me know what you think. Would you use any of these things in your classroom? Thanks.